Hi folks. So far we've been looking at adaptations and variation as a kind of static thing. These are just characteristics, traits that animals and plants have. They didn't pick those characteristics. You don't get to choose what genes you have. So for instance, these guys again, the fennec foxes, the desert foxes, don't think, I'm going to live in the desert. I'll develop sandy coloured fur and I'll develop big ears in order to lose heat. A process called natural selection favours those animals over different ones. So for instance, let's start off with the fennec foxes. Let's say this bunch of foxes live in the desert, and then for whatever reason, maybe there's a massive amount of climate change, or there's some horrible predators, so they need to move away. They find themselves in an Arctic environment. They find themselves somewhere very snowy and somewhere very cold. They're suddenly not very well adapted to living in that environment. They're losing a lot of heat from their ears. They've got quite short fur, and they don't blend in with their environment. They stand out against the white snow. One or two of the individuals might have slightly smaller ears. One or two of them might have a slightly whiter fur. And when they were on the desert, that didn't make a huge difference. They were a little bit different, but it didn't make a huge difference for them. But now that they're in the snowy environment, they are more likely to survive. Smaller ears means that they can hold on to more of their heat, and a whiter face means that they blend into the background a bit more. And over generations and generations, you've got that slight variation in the population again. So maybe you've got some slightly whiter foxes and some slightly sandier ones. You've got some ones with some slightly bigger ears and some ones with some slightly smaller ears. The ones with the whiter fur are more likely to survive because they're going to stay better hidden from predators. The ones with the smaller ears are more likely to survive because they're going to hang on to more of their heat. So if they get caught outside in a blizzard or something, they can hunker down like this fella and keep themselves warm without losing too much heat from their ears. So that is a process called natural selection. Certain individuals are being picked, not consciously, not deliberately, by nature to survive. It can happen a number of different ways. The two major ones are that there is a change in the environment. So that's the example that we've been looking at now. These foxes went to a different environment, or the environment they lived in changed dramatically, so that different qualities were advantageous. Different qualities made them more likely to survive. Another way it can happen is that something randomly changes in the population. So if we had, let's say these guys again, let's say they stay in the desert and they're completely safe and completely happy. But one day there is a baby fennec fox born that has amazing hearing, just way better than all of its family and all of the other foxes around. It's had a random change in its genes. It hasn't come from either parent. There's been a little mistake in its genes. Now, a lot of the time, that doesn't really do anything. Changes in your genes, your body's able to fix them. Sometimes it results in a problem. It can result in a genetic disease or something like cancer, but in a very, 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 very small proportion of time, it can also result in something beneficial. So in this case, their environment hasn't changed at all. They're still living in the desert, they're still hunting the same things, they're still being hunted by the same things, but one of these foxes has developed amazing hearing. It's got a gene, there's been a slight change in its DNA, and it's got really, really great hearing. it's more likely to survive now. It's better adapted to its environment. It's going to hear predators coming, so it's going to run away first. It's going to hear food. It's going to hear the prey, maybe small mice living in a burrow, whereas these guys can't hear it because maybe the burrow's too deep. This little fella, it's got supersonic hearing, amazing hearing, can hear that there is a mouse right underneath them, so it digs down and gets it. So that's two of the ways that natural selection can occur. You've got another video to watch. I'm going to attach these storyboards that I'm about to show you in a second. So don't just use these as a jumping off point. Don't exactly copy one of these unless you are absolutely stumped for an idea. Please try, Google. If you Google natural selection and a natural selection storyboard, you can find some ideas. I want you to produce something a little bit like this. This is looking at an example of two types of rabbits in this habitat. There's some brown rabbits and some white rabbits. They reproduce quite happily. White rabbits producing more white rabbits, brown rabbits producing more brown rabbits. When predators come along, the white rabbits blend into the background more than the brown rabbits. So the brown rabbits are more likely to get caught, they're more likely to be spotted. So as the winter goes on, as this environment, as we travel forward in time, more of the white rabbits survive, so more of the white rabbits are able to reproduce, they are naturally selected for, and the population of brown rabbits decreases. If this goes on for a long time, the brown rabbit genes might completely disappear. There'll be zero brown rabbits at all. It might be that this is a changing habitat, a changing environment. It changes, it gets very snowy in the winter, but maybe it becomes quite lush in the summer, in which case white rabbits born during the winter are more likely to survive, but brown rabbits born during the summer are more likely to survive. So you've got this constantly shifting population of it going brown rabbits for a bit, then white rabbits for a bit, then brown rabbits for a bit, then white rabbits for a bit. And that can just keep going. I think the example in the video talks about peppered moths. Where have we gone? There we go. So we don't, in that example, we don't find the black moths or the white moths going extinct. There are still a few of each, but when we have the clean trees without the pollution on, the white peppered moths are more likely to survive, but when there was loads of pollution, the black peppered moths are more likely to survive. It can, although I said it doesn't always lead to extinction, it can lead to extinction. So here's the example of giraffes. You don't see giraffes with short necks. You only see giraffes with long necks. There's not randomly giraffes with very short necks born. They just don't exist anymore. So over a long period of time, you can end up with natural selection being so dramatic that it completely changes a creature. Other times, it can just lead to a shifting population going back and forth between a couple of traits. So this is another example looking at mice. These mice are dark brown and they survive quite well amongst these long reeds, these long crops. So when a light coloured mouse is born, it's more likely to get eaten. This is talking about an environmental change, but it could be an environmental change. A group of the mice could decide to migrate because they run out of food, or because there's too many predators, or the population gets too big. They find themselves in a different environment. This is a bit more not deserty, but like exposed savanna, like scrubland. So then these lighter coloured mice are more likely to survive. So produce your own storyboard, like one of these. You can put your explanation of what's going on in a little sort of speech box like these, or where's it gone? There you go, you can put a box at the bottom like that, but it should be at least 6 panels long. If you can only think of 2 or 3 panels, then you're probably not explaining enough about what's going on.